So is what you do, because obviously erotic is the key word that everyone's going to grab onto here, but is a large component of what you do, is it around relationships, or is it the erotic nature of relationships?
Well, we're kind of redefining the word erotic in itself when we're using it within erotic intelligence. So it's more of the relationships, the attitudes, your aptitudes, your behaviors, your perceptions in relationships. It's not just about sex. It's not just about erotic energy or any of those kinds of things. So there's a whole different type of understanding to the word erotic when we talk about it in the context of erotic IQ.
Yeah, right. Because it's interesting that we have evolved to this point, and I'm a big fan, by the way, because we've had IQ, intellectual quotient, we've had EQ, emotional quotient, we've had SQ, spiritual intelligence, and we've looked at intellectual intelligence, we've looked at emotional intelligence, we've looked at spiritual intelligence, but now we're actually looking at one of the things that I think fundamentally underlines the basis of evolution. Because if we aren't reproducing in a healthy way, if we aren't functioning in healthy relationships, it's going to affect the trajectory of humanity as we know it.
Yeah, definitely. In all aspects, in business, in the economy. At the moment, our understanding of what relationships are in itself is a global problem.
So what is erotic intelligence?
So erotic intelligence is our capabilities, our understandings, our aptitudes in our relationships. So it's the way we act and behave in our relationships. So bringing a level of intelligence at the forefront of the relationships, not just emotions or our hormonal imbalances or our dreams or our supposed sort of wishes or dreams of our relationships, how we want them to be. It's more of bringing in the deeper aspect of the levels of cognitive awareness around relationships in general.
So if someone's wanting to measure their level of erotic intelligence, like where do I start? And hopefully I'm not using a tape measure.
No, there is a spectrum, I suppose.
I can be cheeky with you, can't I? Because we are talking about, all right, good.
So there is a spectrum of erotic intelligence in general, but there is like a 6-step process to be able to get to the highest levels of erotic IQ. Okay.
And so there are 6 steps to work through the different levels of erotic IQ. Yep. The question is begging, what's step 1?
All right, step 1 is taking a shadow walk.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
All right, so basically the shadow walk is reverse engineering ourselves.
So
we need to go into the deeper depths of the unconscious programming. So we're all in a conscious and in an unconscious program. And most of the time, our understandings of who we are, what we do, how we act and behave in relationships are all things that we've accumulated from all our past baggage.
And that's the unconscious.
That's all. That's
a lot of shadow.
That's the shadow self. So at the same time, the shadow self incorporates a lot of the collective consciousness. So what we think and expect things to be and how they should work out for us in the future. So things like, the iTunes songs that we listen to all have romance and the one and, the ideal concept. We watch Disney movies as you grow up and you think there's a Prince Charming that's going to come and save you and, all these kinds of false ideals or illusions, I should say. But at the same time, all our past relationships sit in our shadow self, in the unconscious. Right. So, for example, you may have been in a relationship 10 years ago and that relationship broke up because of some kind of betrayal. You still carry trust issues 10, 15 years later. Yep. Things will come up and sometimes it's not...
I do.
Yeah, so things will come up and these all sit in the shadow self. So a shadow walk it was coined by Carl Jung. So it's something that's...
it's very...
Yeah, so it's very Jungian and it's kind of a very deep kind of slap in the face experience. You really need to face yourself and in effect you're reverse engineering yourself through reprogramming the past.
You're pulling your pants down on a cold day, having a look in the mirror and going, right, what is the good part of me, but what is the bad? Like, where is my baggage?
Yeah.
And obviously step 1, I'm glad it's step 1 because I'm going to assume that this is where most people would fall off the wagon because when you start exploring shadow self, this is the stuff that can bring up a lot of in some cases trauma, in some cases things that don't necessarily feel right.
Yeah.
And obviously one of the things you probably know, and I'm going to assume with psychotherapy, is people don't want to go where it's uncomfortable. So how do you bring people into the shadow walk in a way where they want to uncover the deepest, darkest parts of who they are?
You'll be surprised. A lot of people want that. A lot of people want to transform.
But do they have to reach a point for that to happen?
Yeah, you get really dark. It gets really uncomfortable, but it's something that's needed. You've got to sort of, what goes up must come down. What goes, you've got to go up and down. For anyone who's taking a shadow walk, usually I kind of say, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Until they say, no, I am ready. About 10 times. They're pushing for it. They've got to want it. Yeah. If they're not wanting and they're just booking an appointment and, hey, let's just do a shadow walk because it's an experience, it's not going to happen. They've got to really, really fight for wanting that deep change within themselves.
Because we've really got to understand who we are at our core to understand why we are and why we do what it is that we do. There you have it, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Unstoppable with me, your host, Kerwin Rae. And please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you get to see all of these interviews in the flesh. Share this podcast with your friends. I would love to hear what you guys think. Thanks for joining us.